There's a kind of shame that only exists when someone texts, "I'm 5 minutes away," and your home looks like a crime scene. You do that thing, the frantic sweep, clothes shoved into closets, hoping nobody opens the bathroom cabinet. And then they walk in and go, "Wow, it's so clean." And you smile and say thank you and feel like a complete fraud. But then there's this other kind of person. You might know them. Their home always looks like this, not staged or prepared for company, just the way it always is. Tuesday afternoon, nobody coming over, long day at work, and the counters are still clear. The sink is still empty. And if you've ever spent any real time around someone like that, some part of you has wondered what is actually going on with them, whether they're happy or miserable, or whether this is the symptom of something in the past. The answer is a bit more nuanced than either of those options. People who maintain genuinely ordered homes, and we're not talking about the stress cleaners yet, we'll get there, are operating from a psychological orientation that most people never consciously develop. It gets built in childhood, usually well below the level of awareness, and by adulthood, it's so embedded in how someone moves through the world that they couldn't explain it to you even if they wanted to. It has nothing to do with discipline the way we typically talk about it. Discipline implies effort against resistance. For these people, there isn't much resistance. Psychologists use the term internal locus of control to describe how much a person genuinely believes their actions shape their environment. People who sit on the high end of that scale don't just intellectually agree that what they do today affects tomorrow, they feel it, almost physically, the way some people feel weather changes in their joints. So when they put something back where it belongs, it's not a chore for them. It registers somewhere beneath conscious thought as meaningful, as actual evidence that they have agency over their life. Most of us agree with that in theory. These people live it as fact. Now, people who grew up in chaotic homes, and I want to be clear, I don't just mean messy, I mean unpredictable, loud, with no real routine, often developed the opposite mindset, not as a personal failure, but as a rational adaptation. When your childhood environment felt out of your control, your brain learned that trying to manage it was a waste of energy. Research backs this up. Growing up in chaos can lead to learned helplessness and weaker self-control later on. And that doesn't just disappear. It follows you into adulthood, into your apartment, into the pile of clothes on the chair that's been there so long it's basically furniture. And this is where it starts to get a bit uncomfortable. There's a third type, and this is the one the internet tends to romanticize. The person who cleans when they're falling apart, who reorganizes the pantry at 11 p.m. because something happened and they can't sit with it, who starts scrubbing the grout in a panic because the alternative is actually feeling what's going on. There's research behind this. A 2010 study found that people who described their homes with words like messy, chaotic, or unfinished showed less healthy stress patterns than those who described their homes in more calming ways. In other words, the state of the home was showing up in the body. So when someone spirals into intense cleaning during emotional stress, they're not really fixing the problem. They're trying to calm their nervous system by focusing on something simple and controllable instead of something painful and complicated. The relationship is broken, unfixable, at least tonight. The kitchen counter? That you can actually handle, in under 20 minutes. The brain gets a hit of completion that it desperately needs and cannot locate in the actual source of pain. The clinical term is displacement activity, one of the more functional defense mechanisms in a strange way, because at least the bathroom ends up spotless. The people who only clean from that place never actually feel clean afterward. You've done this. You spend 3 hours making everything immaculate and feel better for maybe 40 minutes before the same weight settles back in. That's because the cortisol wasn't caused by the mess, but just where it landed. The people who maintain order without it consuming them, the ones we started with, they're not cleaning to feel better. The maintained space is simply the baseline they've established for their life. It functions the way most people think about brushing their teeth. You don't brush your teeth because you're having a crisis. You do it because that's who you are and what you do. That distinction, which sounds minor and is actually enormous, is the whole thing. What most people miss is that your home is one of the most honest things about you. Not the curated version, not the photos. The version that exists on a typical Wednesday when you've had a long day and no one is coming over and you're exhausted and slightly defeated. What does that space look like? Because that space is your actual relationship with yourself. The way you treat your physical environment mirrors with uncomfortable consistency how you treat your internal one, either with a baseline level of care that's become habitual, great, or with a kind of low-grade tolerance for disorder you've grown so accustomed to that you stopped registering it. That's not a moral judgment, but it is information, and that can be useful to someone watching. Research has shown this fairly consistently. Spatial order reduces cognitive load. When there's less visual noise, the brain spends less processing power just parsing the room, and it's been documented how clutter actively competes for neural resources, leaving less capacity for focus, memory, and emotional regulation. The people who keep clear counters don't always know they're doing this consciously. They just know they feel better when the space is right. After enough time, that preference turns into a habit, and that habit becomes part of who you are. And that's where your behavior really comes from. This is what every book about decluttering, every YouTube video about organizing your closet by color refuses to tell you. You can implement any system you want, and it will revert to its previous state within a month if you don't actually see yourself as someone who maintains things. The system isn't the problem, it's how you see yourself. You're not failing the method, you're succeeding at being who you believe you to be. So the real question, the one that's probably been sitting underneath all of this, is who do you believe you are? That's a longer conversation and an uncomfortable one, and I'm not going to pretend watching a video resolves it. But something brought you here. You clicked on a title about the psychology of clean spaces for a reason, and that's worth sitting with for more than a second. Maybe you live with mess and you're exhausted by it in a way you can't fully articulate. Maybe you're the clean person who has always felt slightly alienated by it, like there's something too rigid about the way you can't leave a single dish in the sink overnight. Maybe you've just realized the chair in your bedroom, the one buried with clothes, started accumulating around the same time something happened in your life that you still haven't really processed. The house knows. It tends to know before you do. One last thing, and I only ever mention things I'd actually use. There's a link in the description to something genuinely worth checking out, a bundle of 7-day guides and planners built to close the gap between knowing and actually changing. It helps clear the mental backlog that makes disorder feel normal, fix your sleep instead of just thinking about it, and rebuild focus one day at a time. Each guide gives you a specific daily action, which, as we've just established, is the part that matters. Identity doesn't change from information alone. It changes from doing, consistently, until it becomes who you are. The link's below and in the pinned comment. I hope you check it out.